everyone, welcome to the White Light. Today we are going to learn the meanings of each card in the major arcana. When you first get a tarot deck, it can seem like a daunting task to learn the meaning of all 78 cards. Most people think you have to memorize the meanings of each card, but I'm going to show you how you can easily learn the meanings by looking at the pictures. You can easily tell what the meaning of each card is by looking at the symbols, colors, people, and objects in each card. Once you connect a meaning to the different parts of the picture, you will easily be able to remember the meaning of the card when it comes up in a reading. Now, this is only for the Rider-Waite tarot cards. Other types of tarot decks have their own meanings that you will have to learn. Before I get started, I wanted to mention that I do have printable tarot cheat sheets in my Etsy shop. My Etsy shop is the White Light Digital. They're very good for references while you're learning. I also have several other printable cheat sheets in my store as well on various different topics. I'll post a link to my Etsy store below. Now, let's get started. The cards in the major arcana represent different life lessons, karmic influences, and the big archetypal themes that influence your life and your soul's journey to enlightenment. There are 22 different cards in the major arcana. The Fool is the main character, and he makes his journey through each of the cards, meeting new teachers and learning new life lessons along the way. Learning the Fool's journey is one way to learn the meanings of each of the major arcana cards, but today we're mainly going to look at the different pictures and symbols in the cards to learn the meaning. The Fool card has a young man standing on the edge of a cliff. You can tell by his facial expressions and his posture that he really doesn't have a care in the world as he sets out on a new adventure. He's kind of gazing upwards towards the sky, which represents the universe, and he seems unaware that he's about to step off this cliff. And the cliff in this picture represents the unknown. So he's starting this unknown journey. He's also carrying this knapsack containing everything he needs, which isn't much. He's a bit of a minimalist. The white rose in his left hand represents his purity and innocence. At his feet is a small white dog representing loyalty and protection. The dog also seems to be encouraging him to charge forward, to keep going on his journey and to learn the lessons he came to learn. In the background, you can see some mountains, and that represents the challenges yet to come. They're forever present for the Fool, but he doesn't really care about them right now. He's just more focused on starting his expedition. So the Fool card is more about new beginnings, innocence, spontaneity, and like a free spirit. The next card in the deck is the Magician. In this card, we see a picture of a man, and he has one arm pointing up towards the universe and one arm pointing down towards the earth. This represents his connection between the spiritual realms and the material realms. He uses this relationship to create and manifest his goals in the physical realm. So the Magician is mainly about manifestation. You can also see that he's wearing a white robe, and this symbolizes purity. His red cloak represents worldly experience and knowledge. On the table in front of him are the 4 symbols of the tarot suits: a cup, a pentacle, a sword, and a wand. Each of them symbolizes one of the 4 elements: water, earth, air, and fire. This is a sign that he has all the tools and elements he needs to manifest his intentions into being. Above his head is the infinity symbol, and around his waist is a snake biting its own tail. Both of these signal that he has access to unlimited potential. In the background And down here at the bottom, you can see some different flowers and plants, and these symbolize the blossoming and fruition of his ideas and aspirations. So the Magician card is all about manifestation, resourcefulness, power, and inspired action. The next card in the deck is the High Priestess. On this card, we can see that our High Priestess is sitting in front of a thin veil. This veil represents the separate conscious and subconscious realms. On the veil are pomegranates. These pomegranates represent abundance, fertility, and the divine feminine. On the sides of the priestess, we have a black pillar and a white pillar. The black and white colors represents duality between masculine and feminine, or darkness and light. This is representing that the acceptance of duality are required to enter this sacred space. The High Priestess is wearing a blue robe with a cross on her chest and a crown. Both are a symbol of her divine knowledge and her status as a divine ruler. She's also carrying a scroll with the letters T-O-R-A. So this signifies the greater law. This scroll is partially covered, and that's representing that the sacred knowledge is both explicit and implicit. So this will only be revealed when the student is ready to look beyond the material realm. Down at her feet is a crescent moon, and this symbolizes her connection with the divine feminine, her intuition, and subconscious mind. It also represents the natural cycles of the moon. So the High Priestess card is all about intuition, sacred knowledge, divine feminine, and the subconscious mind. Next, we have the Empress. The Empress card has a picture of a beautiful woman on it with a peaceful look on her face. This is representing femininity. On her head, she wears a crown of 12 stars. This is showing her connection with the mystical realm and the cycles of the natural world. So the 12 months of the year and the 12 planets. On her robe are pomegranates, which once again are symbolize fertility. Down here, we see the symbol of Venus, which is the planet of love, creativity, fertility, beauty, and grace. All of these things make up the essence of the Empress. In the background, we see a beautiful lush forest and a winding stream. These all represent the Empress's connection with Mother Earth and life itself. So the Empress card is all about femininity, beauty, nature, nurturing, and abundance. The archetype of the Empress card is the mother. So if the Empress card is the mother, the archetype of the Emperor card is the father. The Emperor sits upon a large stone throne, and on each side and on the back here are 4 ram heads. The ram heads symbolize his connection with Aries and the planet Mars. In the right hand, he's holding an ankh, which is the Egyptian symbol of life. And in the left hand, he is holding a globe, which represents the world over which he rules. The red robe that he wears is a symbol of his power, his passion, and energy for life. And underneath it, he has a suit of armor. This suggests that he is protected from any threat. His long white beard symbolizes his age-old wisdom and experience. And on his head, he wears a crown, which shows that he's an authority figure who demands to be heard. And in the background, we see some mountains, and this signifies that he is backed by a solid foundation, and he may be resistant to making any changes unless he deems it's necessary. Back here in the corner, we can see a little bit of a river. And this tells us that there is some hope that despite his tough exterior, he's still an emotional being. Just might take a lot of digging and trust to open up his softer side. So the Emperor is all about authority, establishment, structure, and once again, he's that father figure. The next card in the deck is the Hierophant. The Hierophant is more of the masculine counterpart to the High Priestess. He is more of a pope or a teacher in this tarot deck. You can see he kind of looks like a religious figure. He's sitting between two pillars of a sacred temple. He wears 3 robes, red, blue, and white, and a 3-tiered crown. These represent the 3 worlds that he rules over: the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. In his left hand, he holds the papal cross, and this signifies his religious status. He's also raising his right hand in a religious blessing with 2 fingers pointing towards heaven and 2 towards earth. Down below him are 2 followers that are kneeling in front of him. So the Hierophant's task is to kind of pass down his spiritual wisdom and initiate the 2 into the church so they can take up their appointed roles. And then down at his feet, you can see 2 keys that are crossed. And these keys represent the balance between the conscious and subconscious minds and the unlocking of mysteries, which only the Hierophant can teach. So the Hierophant is all about spiritual wisdom, religious beliefs, tradition, and institutions. The next card in the deck is the Lover's card. On this card, we can see a naked man and a naked woman, and they are standing beneath an angel. This angel represents Raphael, whose name means God heals, and he represents both physical and emotional healing. So this angel is blessing the man and woman and reminds them of their union with the divine. The couple is standing in front of this fertile landscape, which is a representation of the Garden of Eden. So behind the woman, we have a tall apple tree with a snake that's kind of winding its way up the trunk. So the apple tree and the snake represents temptation of sensual pleasures. And then behind the man, we have a tree of flames, which represents passion. The 12 flames suggest the 12 zodiac signs, the symbol of time and eternity. The man is looking towards the woman, and the woman is watching the angel. So this is kind of showing the path of the conscious to the subconscious to the superconscious, or from physical desire to emotional needs to spiritual connection. In the background, we have a volcano, and this represents passion between lovers. So the Lover's card is all about love, harmony, and relationships. Next in our deck, we have the Chariot. So on this card, we can see a man that represents a brave warrior. You can see all of the armor that he wears, and he is standing inside a chariot. On his armor are 2 crescent moons, and they represent what is coming into being. On his tunic, there is a small square, which is the symbol of the strength of will. On his head, he's wearing a crown, which represents victory. At first glance, it looks like he is driving the chariot, but if you look closely, he does not have any reins in his hands. He just has this wand, and this is symbolizing that he controls the chariot through the strength of his will and mind. He's also not sitting down in the chariot. He's standing tall, and this represents that he's taking action and moving forward. Above his head is a canopy of stars, and this is suggesting his connection to the celestial world and the divine will. In front of his chariot, we have a black and white sphinx. These represent duality, positive and negative, and at times opposing forces. You can see how the sphinx are kind of turned towards opposite directions, but our guy is using his willpower and sheer resolve to steer the chariot forward in the direction he wants. Behind the chariot, we have a wide river, and this symbolizes the need to be in flow with the rhythm of life, while also charging ahead toward your goals and intentions. So the chariot is all about control, willpower, success, action, and determination. The next card in the deck is the Strength card. So on this card, we can see a woman who's gently stroking this lion. And even though we know that lions are wild and ferocious, this woman has appeared to tame this wild beast with her calm and loving energy. In this card, the lion symbolizes a raw passion and desire, and the woman taming him shows that animal instincts and raw passion can be expressed in positive ways when inner strength and resilience are applied. So she's not using force or coercion. She just channels her inner strength to subdue and control the lion. The woman is wearing a white robe, and this shows her purity of spirit. And she also has a belt of flowers. This represents the fullest, most beautiful expression of nature. Over her head is the affinity symbol, and this represents her infinite potential and wisdom. So the Strength card is all about strength, courage, persuasion, influence, and compassion. The next card in the deck is the Hermit. On this card, we see a man who is standing alone on top of a mountain. The snow in this picture represents his spiritual mastery, growth, and accomplishment. He has chosen this path of self-discovery, and as a result has reached a heightened state of awareness. In his hand, he is holding a lantern, and inside is a 6-pointed star. This represents the seal of Solomon, which is a symbol of wisdom. As he's walking, this lantern lights his path, but it only illuminates his next few steps rather than the full journey. So he must continue to go forward to see where he needs to go next. He knows that not everything is going to be revealed at once. In his other hand, he is holding a staff, and this represents his power and authority, which he uses to guide and balance him. So the Hermit card is all about soul searching, introspection, being alone, and inner guidance. The next card in the deck is the Wheel of Fortune. On this card, we have a giant wheel, and the wheel represents the law and power. On the outside of the wheel, we have a snake, which represents the life force plunging into the material world. On the other side, we have Anubis, which is the Egyptian god of the dead who welcomes souls to the underworld. And then on the top, we have a sphinx, which represents knowledge and strength. In the four corners, we have 4 winged creatures that are associated with the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac. The angel is Aquarius, the eagle is Scorpio, the lion is Leo, and the bull is Taurus. Their wings signify stability amidst movement and change, and each holds the Torah representing wisdom. So the Wheel of Fortune is all about good luck, karma, life cycles, destiny, and a turning point. The next card in the deck is the Justice card. On this card, we have a person who is sitting in front of a loosely hung purple veil. The purple color signifies compassion. The person is also sitting between two pillars that are similar to those on the High Priestess and the Hierophant cards. And this symbolizes balance, law, and structure. The person is holding a sword in her right hand, showing the logical, well-ordered mindset necessary to dispense fair justice. The sword points upward, which expresses a firm and final decision. The double-edged blade signifies that our actions always carry consequences. The scales in her left hand shows that intuition and logic must be balanced, and it's also a symbol that she's impartial. On her head, she's wearing a crown with a small square on it. This represents well-ordered thoughts. At the bottom, you can see just the tip of her white shoe. This serves as a reminder of the spiritual consequences of your actions. So the Justice card is all about justice, fairness, truth, cause and effect, and law. After the Justice card, we have the Hanged Man. On this card, we see a man who is hanging upside down. The expression on his face is calm and serene, and this is suggesting that he's hanging in this position by his own choice. He has a halo around his head, symbolizing new insight, awareness, and enlightenment. His red pants symbolize passion and the physical body, and his blue vest symbolizes knowledge. The Hanged Man is the card of ultimate surrender, of being suspended in time, and sacrifice to the greater good. So overall, the meanings of the Hanged Man are pause, surrender, letting go, and new perspectives. The next card in the deck is the Death card. This card shows the messenger of death, which is this skeleton dressed in black armor, and he's riding a white horse. The skeleton represents the part of the body which survives long after life has left it. The armor symbolizes invincibility and that death will come no matter what. Its dark color is that of mourning and the mysterious, while the horse is the color of purity and acts as a symbol of strength and power. He's carrying this flag, which is decorated with a white 5-petal rose, and this symbolizes beauty, purification, and immortality. And the number 5 represents change. So all of these things together symbolize that death isn't just about life ending. Death is about endings and beginnings, birth and rebirth, change and transformation. In the background, we have a royal figure, and then we also have a young woman and a child. So this is just symbolizing that death spares no one, that it's something that affects everybody. And then in the background, you can see a boat floating down the river. So this is just symbolizing the escorting of the dead and the afterlife. In the background, you can see a sun that is setting between two towers, which is symbolizing dying each night and being reborn every morning. So overall, the Death card represents endings, change, transformation, and transition. The next card in the deck is the Temperance card. And on this card, we have an angel that's both masculine and feminine. She's wearing a light white robe with a triangle on the front of it. And the triangle represents humans are bound by the earth, and the square around the triangle represents the natural law. The angel has 1 foot in the water and 1 foot on the earth. The foot on the earth symbolizes the need to stay grounded, while the foot in the water shows the need to be and flow. She's also pouring water between 2 cups, and this is symbolizing the flow and alchemy of life. In the background, there's a path that is winding up a mountain. This is reflecting the journey through life. Above the mountain is a golden crown that's encased by glowing light, and this is symbolizing that one needs to take the higher path and stay true to one's life purpose and meaning. So overall, the Temperance card represents balance, moderation, patience, and purpose. The next card in the deck is the Devil card. On this card, we have a creature that is half man and half goat. And this represents the balance between good and evil, male and female, and human and animal. The devil has the wings of a vampire bat, which is an animal that sucks the lifeblood out of its prey, and it symbolizes what happens when you give in to your raw desires. If you look closely at his face, or more specifically his eyes, you can see that he kind of has this hypnotic stare going on, which entrances those who come near it. They kind of bring them under his power. Above his head is an inverted pentagram, and this is a sign of the darker side of magic. He's raising his right hand in a Vulcan salute, which is a blessing. And in his left hand, he holds a lit torch. At his foot is a man and a woman. They're both naked and chained together. They appear to be held here against their will, but if you look closer, you will notice that the chains around their necks are loose and could easily be removed. They each have small horns on their head. This is a sign that they are becoming increasingly like the devil the longer that they stay there. Both have tails, which is symbolizing their animalistic tendencies and raw instincts. And then the grapes and the fire represent their pleasure and lust. So the Devil card is all about the shadow self, attachment, addiction, restriction, and sexuality. The next card in the deck is the Tower card. So on this card, we see a building that's on fire. It's being hit by lightning. People are falling from the building. So it's just a whole scene of chaos and destruction. The tower itself is a pretty solid structure, but if you look at the ground that it's built on, it's kind of has a shaky foundation, and it only takes one lightning bolt to bring it down. So this is representing ambition and goals that are made on false premises. The lightning represents a sudden surge of energy and insight that leads to a breakthrough or revelation. It enters through the top of the building and knocks off the crown, symbolizing energy flowing down from the universe through the crown chakra. The people are desperate to escape from the burning building, even though they don't know what awaits them when they fall. Around them are 22 flames, and this represents the 12 signs of the zodiac and 10 points of the tree of life. So this suggests that even in times of disaster, there is always divine intervention. So the Tower card is all about sudden change, upheaval, chaos, revelation, and awakening. The next card in the deck is the Star card. On this card, we can see a naked woman who's kneeling at this pond, and she has 2 containers of water that she's pouring out. The one in her left hand represents the subconscious, and the one in her right represents the conscious. So she pours the water out to nourish the earth and to continue the cycle of fertility, represented by all the greenery around her. And if you look closely, you can see that from this container, there's 5 little rivulets coming off of it. and that represents the 5 senses. The woman also has one foot on the ground, which represents her practical abilities and good common sense, and then the other foot in the water, which represents her intuition and inner resources and listening to her inner voice. Her naked body represents her vulnerability and purity. And then behind her, we have one large star, which represents her core essence. And then the 7 smaller stars represent the chakras. So the star card is all about hope, faith, purpose, renewal, and spirituality. The next card in the deck is the moon card. And on this card, we can see a huge moon that's in between 2 towers. So the moon is a symbol of intuition, dreams, and the unconscious. Its light is dim compared to the sun around it, and only slightly illuminates the path to higher consciousness, winding between the 2 towers. In the foreground, you can see a small pool representing the watery subconscious mind. And then there's a small crayfish that's crawling out of the pool, and this symbolizes the early stages of consciousness unfolding. A dog and a wolf stand in the grass. They're both howling at the moon. This is representing both the tamed and the wild aspects of our mind. So the moon card is all about illusion, fear, anxiety, subconscious, and intuition. The next card in the deck is the sun card. So at the top of the sun card, we have this huge sun that's just radiating with optimism and positivity. The large, bright sun shines in the sky, representing the source of all life on Earth. Underneath it, 4 sunflowers grow tall above a brick wall, and this is representing the 4 suits of the minor arcana and the 4 elements. And then we also have a young naked child that is sitting on top of a calm white horse. The child represents the joy of being connected with your inner spirit, and his nakedness is a sign he has nothing to hide and has all the innocence and purity of childhood. The white horse is also a sign of purity and strength. So overall, the sun card represents positivity, fun, warmth, success, and vitality. The next card in the deck is the Judgment card. On this card, we can see naked men, women, and children who seem to be rising from their graves, and they have their arms outspread and are looking up into the sky. And above, we have the Archangel Gabriel, which is the messenger of God, and he is blowing his trumpet. So the people respond to his call. They're ready to be judged and to find out if they will be accepted into the heavens or not. In the background, there's a mountain range, and this is symbolizing the obstacles and impossibility of avoiding judgment. So the Judgment card is all about judgment, rebirth, inner calling, and absolution. The last card in the deck, in the major arcana, is the World card. On this card, we have a naked woman who's wrapped in a purple cloth, and she is looking behind her to the past while her body moves forward to the future. In her hands, she holds 2 wands, kind of like the ones the magician holds. These wands are symbols that what was manifested with the magician has now come to completion with the world. The wreath is circular, symbolizing a continual cycle of success, completion, and new beginnings. Because as the woman steps through the wreath, she is completing one phase, but beginning another one almost straight away. Around the wreath are 4 figures, a lion, bull, cherub, and eagle, similar to those in the Wheel of Fortune. Both the world and the Wheel of Fortune speak to the circular nature of your life and your progression through its cycles. The 4 figures represent the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac: Leo, Taurus, Aquarius, and Scorpio. They are symbolic of the 4 elements, the 4 suits of the tarot, 4 compass points, 4 seasons, and the 4 corners of the universe. They are here to guide you from one phase to the next, bringing balance and harmony to your journey. So the World card is all about completion, integration, accomplishment, and travel. Now that you've learned the meanings of each of the major arcana cards, I'd suggest that you practice readings with only these cards. Once you have a good understanding of them, you can move on to learning the meanings behind each of the minor arcanas. I will be posting videos on the meanings of the minor cards soon. Once again, if you are looking for some cheat sheets, make sure you check out my Etsy store. I'll post the link below. Well, I hope this video was helpful. Blessed be.